If you're going to move forward in your life, you have to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others. It's very difficult to notice aspects of ourselves that cause problems and keep us from reaching our full potential if we can't see ourselves clearly. This is why we're here. This is Twaambo, and you're listening to Tea Time with Twaambo. Let's begin. Welcome to this episode of Tea Time with Twaambo. Thank you for joining me yet again. I appreciate it. I appreciate your messages. I appreciate your texts, your emails. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and also for letting me know when there is something on this podcast that you don't agree with, when you feel that I'm just sweeping something under the rug or being really, really general with it. I appreciate your feedback and thank you so much for listening as usual. I'm going to jump straight in. It's still the new year, even though people are not saying Happy New Year anymore. You know, that awkward place where nobody knows whether they should say Happy New Year or not. It's still kind of the new year. And we're still cleaning house here on Tea Time with Twaambo. And we have talked about, your relationships, your romantic relationships, talking about the toxicity that could be in there and dealing with your trauma and their trauma. Today, I want to talk about your relationship with yourself. How you are treating yourself. Are you treating yourself as a person that is worthy of love? Are you comfortable in your skin? Is your soul breathing lightly in the path that you're walking on right now? I'm sure that these are questions that you have asked yourself, or maybe there's questions that you have never asked yourself. That's what this podcast is for, asking questions so we can live a better life. Jumping right in. I want you to ask yourself if you're ready to make changes in your life. And are you the sensitive type that cannot hear the truth from other people? And the reason that I say that is because I want to jump in and let you know that this time with cleaning house about your relationship with yourself, we might have to get a little help from other people. So people like your family or your close friends. And in order to do this, you might have to ask them a question and then be ready for the answers that they're going to give you. So, I haven't always been this self-assured or calm sounding. I know that on the podcast I sound really cool, calm, and collected. I am like that most of the time. Not all the time. I have my times when I kind of lose it. But I've been able to get to this point in my life because of asking questions. And that's why I come on the podcast and ask you the same questions because, people always ask me, why are you so self-assured? Why are you so calm? And the reason I do this podcast is that I want to teach people, the process that I went to get to this point where I can self-reflect and say, I'm doing this because this is what happened in my life, or I'm doing it because I'm afraid, or I'm doing this because I want to go in a particular direction. And getting to that point meant that I asked myself questions, but I also had to ask questions to the people around me. And so one important question that I asked my friends, my family is, what do you get when you're around me, and how do I make you feel? And it was really scary to ask this question because you never know what people are going to say. And you have to accept that when they give you that answer, that is how they make you feel. They're not telling you this to hurt your feelings. You have to accept that that is how you make them feel. And, I got a lot of answers about how I'm really critical, or I make some people feel that they can't achieve certain things that they want to achieve because I'm a little hard on them. And I can be hard on other people because I'm also really hard on myself. And that's another podcast topic, talking about why I am that way. But it was really important for me to hear what other people get when they're around me and how I make them feel. Because then I was able to decide how I want to make other people feel, but most of all, find out, why are people getting that vibe from me? Am I really being the way that they're saying, or are they misreading me? And if they're misreading me, am I not communicating what I want to communicate in the right way? And so I thought about it, I internalized it, I critiqued it, I saw if this was, really what I wanted to put across. And then I worked on improving the way that I communicate, improving and how I'm making people around me feel. And this is not to make everybody around me feel all giddy and happy all the time, but I want to be a person that people want to be around. And if time comes for me to be hard on somebody about something, especially if they're needing to hear it, sometimes that has to happen, right? Just like hearing how I make people feel may not be the most comfortable thing, but it had to happen. So I had to really consider, how do I make other people feel and what do they get when they're around me? And I want to encourage you as well to ask this question to the people in your life. What do you get when you're around me and how do I make you feel? Stop and listen and then thank them for their answer. Do not go into defending yourself or like high-fiving because you're the greatest person on earth. Just take it in and say thank you, and then move away from the situation and understand and see, is this true? And if people don't feel good around me, what can I change in the way I communicate? Is it a problem that I have that I am projecting to other people? And then, or is it the other person? And you can't really judge for the other person. You have to look at yourself first, because you are you. You are around yourself all the time. And so how does this help with, your personal relationship, your relationship with yourself, when you know how you make other people feel? You question why you behave the way you behave, and you allow yourself to go deep inside yourself and say, why do I treat people the way that I treat them? What am I looking for in other people? Why do I make other people feel so bad? Is it because that I'm wanting them to be there for me in a way that I can't be for myself? Pause. Am I looking for things from other people that I can give myself? And am I making them feel really bad because I'm putting pressure on them to be something that I want to be myself? And I found that this was why I was being hard on other people, because I felt that I had failed in some parts of my life. And so I wasn't allowing other people the freedom or the space to make mistakes, because I felt that I had made a huge mistake. And so to not make that mistake anymore, I have to be careful. I have to, dot all the I's and cross all the T's and just be hard and just go hard. And, some people don't respond well to that. And I had to bring it back to myself. Why do I make people feel the way that I make them feel? Am I doing that and putting pressure on them because I'm wanting them to behave in a way that I want to be myself, that I'm expecting from myself? What am I not giving myself that makes me put pressure on other people? How can I be there for myself the way I want other people to be there for me? I know you've heard a lot about like self-care techniques online. There's lots of podcasts and articles, etc. And sometimes it feels kind of flaky, bath bombs and have a bubble bath every day. And that stuff is good. But you're putting pressure on people to say nice things to you all the time because you don't praise yourself enough. You don't give yourself kudos. You don't say, hey, you know what? You worked really well at work today and I'm proud of you. Or I'm really glad that you didn't go off on your sister yet again, or your uncle that really pisses you off. Sometimes there's some things that only you can give yourself. And when you treat yourself better, you will make people around you feel the difference, and you will treat them better too. You will treat them with more grace and more kindness. And so this week's episode is just about your relationship with yourself. Find out how you make other people feel, and find out why you make them feel that way. And then go back and see whether that has something to do with your relationship with yourself. Can you treat yourself better, and in that way treat other people better and make them feel better? So in the end, it's not about how they feel. It's about how you feel about yourself. It's been another great episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please go ahead and share this episode with your friends and your family. Don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, Breaker, Anchor FM. I'm also on Instagram. Please search for Tea Time with Twaambo. Thank you for listening. See you on the next episode. Bye.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.